A good teacher manages a class. A poor teacher disciplines a class. However, even the best of teachers do need discipline sometimes, and they will have to address certain learners on transgressions and poor behavior. So it is very important that you know your own style of discipline and which discipline model you employ most in your classroom. So in this video, we're going to discuss 3 different models of discipline that we see in classrooms today. The first is preventative discipline. So we prevent misbehavior rather than having to deal with it after it has happened. This has a lot to do with the communication between you and your learners. Do they really know what you expect of them? Are there clear rules in your classroom so that they know this is the safe space in which I have to operate? This is the boundaries in which I have to fulfill my duties in this classroom. It is so important that we provide a stimulating curriculum for our learners. Bored learners are naughty learners. The moment a learner is bored or overwhelmed, or they feel that they are not coping, they often tend to transgress. So we need to keep them actively engaged. You cannot spend half of a lesson having them do a worksheet. You need to keep them actively engaged. If you do a worksheet, let them do one question, then discuss it with them. Let them do a second question and discuss it with them, but stay actively engaged. Remember that students want to have fun, so we need to incorporate a certain level of fun in our classrooms for them to feel safe there. Empower them by asking their opinion. Have you ever seen that if we ask learners to make rules, or we ask them to discuss the consequences of breaking these rules, they often make more strict rules and more severe consequences than what we would have done. It's so important that we continually emphasize good behavior, that we use praise more than criticism, and that we really make them feel that we see that they keep to the rules, that we see that they are really coming to learn and that they are actively engaged in our classrooms. We also have to model good behavior. If I do not plan my lesson, I cannot expect my learners to really do their best. So we need to model the behavior we want to see. If I raise my voice and shout, I cannot blame learners for doing the same. The second model is the supportive discipline model. So here the teacher is alert, and when they see potential signs of misbehavior, they will redirect the student, rather than having to first let the behavior get out of hand and then try to struggle to get them back in line. For this, we tend to use eye contact. We spoke about having to move between your desks, so you can use physical proximity. In the first video, I spoke about non-verbal communication. Use a frown, use a head shake, use hand signals, use eye contact, so that students know you see them. You are tuned in to what is happening in your classroom. Provide them with challenges. Let's see if we can do 3 more. I know you're getting tired now, but just 3 more. Give them hints and clues when you see they suffer. Don't let them go too far on a path of not feeling in control. The moment you see that they start struggling, bring them back. Use humor. A good teacher can laugh, and a good teacher can make kids enjoy their lessons. Remove distracting objects. If you see a learner playing with something, take it and let them finish their work first before you give it back, before that object creates a bigger problem. Always try to acknowledge good behavior. That will enforce that good behavior. Use hints and suggestions. The moment you see that they start transgressing, bring them back. Then the final and the most difficult model of discipline is corrective discipline. This is what we have to use when students violate our rules. We have to have corrective manners in place, and there need to be some sort of consequence. Now, here's the hard truth. If everybody likes you, you're not doing it right. We cannot be teachers and have everybody like us all of the time. We cannot ignore disruptive behavior. You have to deal with it immediately. If you do not deal with it immediately, it is going to escalate and it is going to become so much more of a problem. Remain calm and speak in a matter-of-factly voice. We cannot lower ourselves to the emotional level of that learner. You are the adult, so you need to act like the adult in this situation. And if you feel that you cannot deal with the situation at this very moment, then deal with it afterwards when you are calm and less emotional. Move your body, don't move your voice. I've said it quite a few times. Shouting at learners has never ever had a positive outcome. You need to follow through. And this is so important. We cannot threaten. We tend to do that so often, and then we do not follow through on those threats, and the learner will think, oh, but I can do it again next time. Or I know my teacher will warn me 4 or 5 times before there will be a consequence. So of course I'm going to push it until I get to 4 or 5 times, because I know I will get away the first 3 times. If necessary, speak to students in private about misbehavior. If you address one student in front of the class, chances are very good that the class will throw themselves behind that student. They will support the learner instead of you. Be ready to use your punitive measures where necessary. If you have a demerit system, use it. Don't make that the first place that you jump to. Have your own set of rules first. We're going to talk a lot about this later. But if you have to invoke the rule and there has to be a punishment or a consequence, do that with confidence.